Management Skills Training Program, Video 2-2. What's PDCA? Probably many of you already know this, but it's a good thing to relearn important subjects. PDCA is a management cycle of business activity. It aims for continuous improvement of a business process. Plan is a process to analyze the current condition and make activity plans. And do is a process to implement a plan. And at the check process, we monitor and evaluate the result of the process. And then at the act process, we revise the plan, the processes, and the implementation, etc. The importance of the PDCA cycle can be summarized as follows. First, by making a concrete implementation plan, a manager can appropriately allocate job duties to team members. Number two, by making the plan as a team and sharing it among the team members, a manager can empower the team and promote its collaboration. Number three, the check process is crucial in each cycle to complete activities before the deadline. If we do not monitor the process periodically, we will run the risk of discovering a crucial delay just before the deadline. It would be too late to complete the jobs as they are scheduled. Number four, a manager needs to analyze the gaps between the plan and the result. Number five, a manager should take necessary countermeasures to fill the gaps timely and appropriately. Let me think about the application of PDCA. PDCA can be applied to the entire organization, departments, and individuals. So if you work by yourself, PDCA is also applicable. Plan includes the constellation of organizational documents, such as job procedure, operation standard, manual. These are the examples of documents included in plan: long and mid-term management plan, short-term plan, business plan, and marketing and sales plan, and production plan, etc. And the procedures or standards are also included in plan: operation procedure sheet, operation standards sheet, and various rules of the organization, etc. This slide shows the relationship between two successive PDCA cycles. The first one is for a particular cycle of a business operation, say a 1-year operation. As I have explained, a manager should plan first, do second, check third, and take actions to improve the do process. The second PDCA cycle starts after the first one based on the results of the first one. It is crucial to your business that the objective of the second plan should exceed the objective of the previous one. This is called the spiral up of the PDCA cycle. In this slide, we will think about the plan in more detail. First of all, let's see the definition of a plan. Plan is to specify necessary activities, order of them, and management resources and visualize them to achieve management objectives. When creating a plan, there are some key points to consider. Plan should be consistent with management objectives. And setting the policies is also one of the key points. I listed the two examples of the policies. The first one is, we focus on some kind of business for the next 3 years. The second example is, we establish a compliance policy and strictly follow it. These policies are helpful because they show the general directions of the project. They can guide you, especially when you don't know what direction you should go. And the classification of the job is something you need to think about when creating a plan. Jobs can be divided into two categories: ordinary jobs and exceptional jobs. Exceptional jobs are kind of special tasks related to solving specific issues. It is essential to classify the jobs into these two categories when creating a plan. In this slide, I will show you an example of a format to classify jobs. In this format, ordinary jobs are listed at the upper half of the table. And at the lower half is allocated to exceptional jobs. For each job, you describe necessary items such as job title, who is in charge of the job, deadline, projected cost, and expected obstacles and countermeasures, and so on. Let me continue the remaining key points in creating a plan. When specifying and allocating jobs to subordinates, you should consider their skills and motivation and workload. Special attention is necessary, especially when allocating exceptional jobs, because exceptional jobs require improvement and innovation. You should also consider their willingness and feelings. A time schedule is indispensable for a plan. The necessary costs to execute the plan should be estimated. For example, they are profitability, cost effectiveness, and the like. Probably most of you have used a Gantt chart, but let me mention a little bit here. This is an example of a Gantt chart laying out the schedule of an annual plan. And let me review some of the good points about the Gantt chart here. First, you can grasp the general progress of a project at a glance. Second, you can compare planned progress and actual progress. By comparing these two, you are more likely to catch up and make the deadline. In this chart, green bars show planned progress, and the red bars show actual progress. Third, you can set milestones. A milestone is a specific point where you can measure progress. Meeting a milestone will give your team members a sense of achievement. You might want to have a party when a milestone is met. Usually, you'll make a long-term plan and a short-term plan to distinguish a general time frame and a detailed job schedule. This slide shows a monthly plan and weekly and a daily plan. I also recommend that you make a yearly plan to achieve the long-term vision you created in Part 1. This slide shows some key points to consider in the processes of check and act. First, you need to revise the plan to cope with unexpected events or external environmental changes whenever necessary. Second, don't be satisfied with creating a beautiful plan. A beautiful plan is really beautiful only when it is executed properly. Third, monitor your plan periodically. Otherwise, you may lose the last chance to address a problem. Number 4, you need to pay attention to the progress of the job done by subordinates, because we can provide them the necessary instructions. And your subordinates feel encouraged by the boss's attention. And you or your subordinates can find issues in an early stage. Number 5, you need to have your subordinates get accustomed to periodic reporting. Number 6, it is necessary to set indicators for periodic monitoring. For the rest of this video, we will learn problem solving. First, let me ask you, what is the definition of problem? Problem can be defined as the situation where there is a considerable gap between the plan and the reality. So if there is no plan, there is no problem. Once you discover a problem, you need to identify it and specify the root cause of it. Then you solve it. In the following slides, we will learn how to tackle problems. Let me introduce two different problem-solving approaches. The first one is zero-based thinking. This method does not presuppose the knowledge or experience that you had when you created the plan. Since the start of the project, the business environment may have changed, or the customer's preferences may have changed. Our common sense, the current rules or standards, may not already applicable. If so, you need to put the status quo aside and think about the problem objectively from scratch. This is the approach of zero-based thinking. The second approach is hypothesis-driven thinking. You develop a hypothesis for a problem early in the process. A hypothesis is your best guess at explaining a problem. Gather data to test the hypothesis. If the data is not sufficient, you try to make an educated guess. For example, if you need information about your competitor's response, try to look at the problem from their perspective. However, if your hypothesis is proven wrong, don't hesitate to throw it away and begin the process again. The iteration of the process will lead to the optimal solution. Also, it would be helpful to think about the worst scenario and come up with its countermeasures. I listed the steps for problem solving in this slide for your reference. Finding the problem, analyzing the problem, studying the improvement plan, making the improvement plan, and implementing the improved plan, and measuring the results and standardizing the procedure. These 6 steps are equally important, and I recommend that you strictly follow them. In my experience, many failures of problem solving are resulted from not following these steps strictly. For example, when something wrong happens and your customer gets mad, you would become upset and try to solve the problem as soon as possible, forgetting the process of collecting information. You can easily imagine what would happen if you jump to a stopgap without correct information. That problem would trigger another problem and become bigger and bigger. Problem-solving tools. We have prepared a more detailed version of the previous slide. Please refer to the file named Problem-solving tools later. Let me share this file now. This table includes many useful tools for problem solving. You can find many interesting tools you may want to use. I believe brainstorming and cause and effect diagram are particularly practical for solving problems. Let me go back to the slide. Among these tools, I'll explain the KJ method in the following slides. KJ method is a method for collecting and organizing facts relevant to a problem to identify the structures of the problem and lead to solutions. This method was developed by Dr. Jiro Kawakita, a Japanese cultural anthropologist. And the KJ diagram is also called the affinity diagram. KJ method is a practical tool for generating many ideas and visualizing the facts related to a problem. This method is often used for brainstorming. Its procedure goes like this. Making cards. You write all the relevant facts on individual cards. Write one message on one card. The more cards, the better. Sharing the ideas among the members. Classify them into groups and name them. And making a chart on a large sheet of paper. If necessary, make subgroups. And confirming the contents of the diagram by all the members. This slide illustrates the procedure of the KJ method. First, you make cards. Write one message on one card. Then classify them into relevant groups so that similar cards belong to the same group. And give a title to each group so that it represents common characteristics of the cards in the group. Then make a chart. In this example, arrows show the cause-effect relationships between groups. Then all the members need to reach a consensus that everything is in the right place. This diagram exemplifies the result of a KJ method. The problem that we target is the low productivity of small and medium-sized enterprises in a particular country. And this diagram shows the high production cost causes the low production of SMEs, and the low implementation of Kaizen and the lack of Kaizen policy caused the high production cost. So from this analysis, we can conclude that strengthening the Kaizen initiative will improve the productivity of the SMEs. You have almost reached the end of this video. To review the content, I'll give you 5 quizzes as usual. Some of the answers may not have been written in the slides. You can find some of them in what I've said verbally. To finish up part 2, let's challenge these assignments. The first one is, what jobs have you done for the past month? Please look back and recall what activities you have done as job duties, and write down in the format distributed. And there are some rules. One job in one line. Do not put 2 or more jobs in one line. And describe the jobs precisely based on the facts. And at least 10 jobs. And try to list 20 jobs. This is a format for the assignment 2-1 and 2-2. I filled in some boxes with examples for your reference. Please write one job for one box. And please find which of the PDCA processes the job falls on, and write B, D, C, or A. Assignment 2-2. Based on the previous table you make, calculate the percentage for each PDCA process and evaluate the result. Assignment 2-3. Changing the perspective a little bit, let's look at your organization's PDCA. Please write your opinions freely. The first question is, what are the good points about the PDCA of your company or your department? A second one is, what are the points you think you should be improved about the PDCA of your company or your department? And the last one is, how do you think you can improve C and A especially? Okay, this is the end of this video. Don't forget to submit your answer sheet by the deadline. See you next time.